Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark. Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Hey, it has been a while, and I don't expect anybody to tune in live right away, but I am hoping that we will get some people to come back and watch. Thank you for stopping by the channel. I am TC. I am the host and founder of the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment channel. And for those of you that don't know what I mean by Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it has nothing to do with judges. It has nothing to do with the legal system. It has everything to do with the foundations of our nation and where the fight for freedom and liberty came from. So if you're tuning in for the first time, you've never heard my content, don't let the title of the channel, the name of the show, fool you. Minnesota Black Robe Regiment is a reference, once again, to the history of the United States and the fact that it was churches and preachers who sparked the American War for Independence. And I'm going to cut to it here real basically quick because this is a really important story that we need to cover. And so for those of you who do not necessarily tune into the auditing community, and if you don't know what the auditing community is, this is not the stream to try and explain it to you. But basically, there are people out there who go around, rightfully, shooting video of police in their day-to-day operations. And Chille DeCastro from Delete Lawz is one of them. Chille isn't for everybody. He'll tell you that. There are people who do not like his mannerisms. There's his personality necessarily, but Chille definitely is bold. And he's now imprisoned. Chille has been imprisoned for 180 days, for a sentence of 180 days for daring to piss off the powers that be. And so we're going to do a little bit of a breakdown on that because it's really important. And as many of you know, I spent nearly 13 years working inside as a sheriff's deputy, sworn deputy, working inside of an adult detention center in Olmsted County, Minnesota. And I have particular insight, not as a detainee or an inmate, but as a deputy in a detention center for what Chille is going through and what they're doing to him already. And the reason that this is important is for an incident that took place yesterday. So Brian from High Impact Flicks, you might know him from Here's the Deal. The link to his channel and Chille's channel, Delete Lawz, are in the description of this video. If you want, and not if you want to, you need to go and check out, especially right now, Brian's content, because he's covering a lot of Chille's story. But Brian does a lot of liberty-minded, natural rights-minded content. And he, for lack of better terminology, is carrying the ball, carrying water for Chille right now, because Chille's locked up for 180 days. And Chille needs our help and our support. And if you go to Brian's content on Here's the Deal, if you go to Delete Lawz, you will also find that they have links to Chille's legal fund to help him with his appeals. The appeal process for Chille is not going to go well. It's not. On a misdemeanor case, it's just hard for people to win on appeal on a misdemeanor while they're still locked up, because it takes a couple of years. Excuse me, folks, I'm having non-adult beverages. But the reason this stuff is so important is because what's happening to Chille, what's happening to several across the United States right now, it's like Flex Your Freedoms down in Waterloo, Iowa. And I'll be heading down to Waterloo on Monday to take part in shooting video of the protest and going to the city council meeting to the protest that's going to be taking place there. But what's happening to Chille from Delete Lawz, what's happening to uh, flex your freedoms and others is going to set a precedence. And everybody thinks, oh, we got the First Amendment on our side. Well, that's true. We do have the First Amendment on our side. We do have liberty on our side. We do have natural rights on our side. But the problem is that you still have to go to court. And most of the time you end up having to go to prison as well, or jail or detention or whatever you want to call it, to, get anywhere and win a fight. It's just the nature of the beast. There's no way around it. You have you end to fight this fight. You end up having to go and be imprisoned to get it to a court where they're going to talk about it, where they're going to recognize what's going on, and then toss out the verdict. Well, by the time that happens for Chilli, it's going to be too late. And I'm going to take you now to Chilli's channel. Brian is hosting the show for Chilli, hosting his channel, doing live streams for Chilli. And yesterday, Chilli called live from the Clark County Detention Center in Nevada, where he's being wrongfully held. And he called live. And well, here, I'll do this first. I messaged Brian yesterday on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to, I don't want to share it all, but what I did, I said, and this was yesterday at 3:05, so March 27th at 3:05 p.m., about 35 minutes before the incident that we're going to listen to. I messaged Brian and said, hey, I see you're in daily contact with Chilli. Wanted to give you an insider's view on what they will do with him if they decide his communications with the outside world become a problem. If you're interested, let me know. I can break it down for you by the numbers. It is standard operating procedure, SOP, almost everywhere when it comes to county level adult detention centers in the U.S. Prior to sending this message to Brian at High Impact Flicks, or Here's the Deal, I also told several people, here's what they're going to do to Chilli. And I'm sorry to say I was right. I knew exactly what they were going to do. And so we're going to go now to here's the deal, Brian, on Chilli's channel, Delete Lawz, and we're going to listen in to exactly what they did to him. It's been so long since I've done a live stream. I forgot how to use my equipment, how to use the software. So bear with me.
An incarcerated individual at Clark County Detention Center, Las Vegas, Nevada. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number.
To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse this free call, press 2. If you thank you for using Securus, you may start.
So what I want you guys to understand as we're doing this, in the facility that I worked in, the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center here in Minnesota, third largest metro area in the state of Minnesota, I am familiar with how the secure system works. It was a system that Olmsted County was using when I was employed there as a deputy in the detention center. And hello, Jogalassis. Thanks for tuning in. Please share this out. If you guys are watching live, please share this out because this is going to be really important for the next 170 days of Chilli's incarceration. So I'm intimately familiar with how this system works. And the reason why that's so important is because if you're not familiar with the system, if you're new to being incarcerated, if you've never been incarcerated and you're talking to someone who has been incarcerated, they don't, as you heard, they warned them, this phone call is going to be listened to. I mean, it's kind of like when you read your Miranda rights, your Miranda warning, when you read your Miranda warning and they say you have the right to remain silent, anything you say can be used against you. And there's always, you hear people add can and will be used against you. It should be read that will be used against you. It's the same thing with the Securus phone system in detention centers and within the prison industrial complex. It's not that they could be listening and monitoring. They are listening and monitoring. Absolutely are listening and monitoring. And I guarantee you, every single time that Chilli goes anywhere near a phone when he has free time, the cameras are trained on him. And the second he picks up that phone, there is a sergeant or somebody of sergeant rank or higher, depending on how the rank structure works within the Clark County, Nevada Detention Center. There's somebody listening in on that call. And we could speculate about algorithms and words that they're looking for. This situation with Chilli, as this plays out, and you're going to hear, as this plays out, there's somebody listening in, and they at some point they know what they're going to do. So we're going to go back now and we're going to listen to some more of this with Chilli and Brian. And once again, I want to applaud Brian. He's doing the hero's work here. Chilli is on the inside. He seems to be managing as best as possible for really being, my understanding, locked up like this for maybe this long for the first time in his life. But Brian is doing the yeoman's work here. And I don't blame anybody for trying to understand, speculating what's going on. Please head over to, here's the deal, head over to Delete Lawz and subscribe and tell them that I sent you.
Start the conversation now.
All right, Chilli, we're live, man. Hold on a second. Let me set up my microphone so we can hear you. Okay, go ahead, Chill.
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing out there in the free world? What's going on out there in the land of the unfree America? I guess I'm kind of the embodiment of that right now, aren't I? So thanks, Brian, for setting this up. And before we get going, I wanted to give a deep and warm thanks to my friend Brian, who, without him, I wouldn't have a voice and I wouldn't have an outlet. And he's done such an amazing job of fundraising, and y'all have put in your hard-earned money, and I just want to say thank you. And I won't stop. And I want to say thank you to Brian specifically for doing what he's done. And there's so many other people who have been helping me behind the scenes that I'm not going to say their names out loud, but thank you to all of you. And I wish I could call each and every one of you. I wish I could pick up the phone.
So what I want to highlight right now with this is that every single facility has a policy in accordance or worked out with Securus about third-party calls. And they have a very weird way of defining third-party calls. Most people think of a third-party call in this situation where you pick up the phone inside the detention center, you call somebody on the outside, and then that person calls somebody else and brings them into the call or transfers you over to them. And the reason why they have the policy, and I'm not justifying it, but this is their mindset. They don't want you reaching out to a potential witness. They don't want you reaching out to a fellow defendant. They don't want you reaching out to a victim, any of that, or maybe reaching out to somebody who you have a no contact order with. So they have this no third party call system set up. But a lot of times, and they do have algorithmic work that they can do with the system that can tell when a call is being transferred that way. But what they never talk about is that they can decide something's a third-party call if that call is being recorded and shared. And this is what to some degree, this is what they're going to get him on with this call when they end it. I guarantee you that's going to be what they do.
Hey, thank you so much for supporting me and staying with me, because this is literally the hardest thing that I've ever been through. The dungeon system here in Nevada is the place that I'm at is a minimum security prison, a minimum security dungeon where I've kind of laid it out in a couple of videos on talking with the editor, and it's just this big room where there's just beds. Not so much that the guards are mean. It's just like kind of like a schoolyard bully who will, tell you to shut up, and you have to shut up, because if you don't shut up, you will be sent over to your bunk, which is a metal sheet, and then there's like a 1-inch thin, like it's such a tattered, you call a mattress, but it's not a mattress. I wrote about it. I'll have a ebook coming out when I get out of here, because there's just so much information to share. But then you have to go to your bunk and lay on this sheet of metal, and you have to stay there. I have to stay on the sheet of metal at least 18 hours a day. There's a registered or scheduled 8 hours of free time every day, which would include sitting on a cafeteria table or taking a shower or going out into this, we call a rec yard. But I stay on my bed. I stay on my bed 22, 23 hours a day. I only leave that bed to take a shower, and brush my teeth, and eat the slop that they serve. And it's pig slop. It's the lowest form of food you could possibly put into a human being.
Now, notice up to this point, everything he's saying is true across the board of every facility. Chilli is going to start to veer off into some territory here very soon. That is, while I was listening into this yesterday, I saw it coming. I saw what's going to happen coming, and there was no way for me to warn anybody. I was trying, but there's no way for me to warn anyone. And we'll talk about what happens and why it becomes a problem.
Literally, they give you bologna, a little slab of bologna some days, and then in the morning they'll give you you wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, you're done with breakfast by 4 at the latest. That's the breakfast late. Breakfast consists of a glob of peanut butter, cornflakes, and a packet of jelly and 2 pieces of white bread. And as you know, I had to get my blood pressure down, so I don't eat that white bread, and I don't eat that jelly. So I just blob of peanut butter, and I don't eat those flakes. And I would recommend anybody else that their flakes are just garbage. So then, after that, you got to go back to your bunk, and you stay there until 8 o'clock in the morning. And then from 8 till 9 or 10 or 11, depending on if you get locked down or not, locked down again, you have to go back to your bunk and you have to sit on the bunk. And then 8 to 11, you'll have free time, and then they'll serve lunch at about 11. Then you're locked down again from 11 till noon, or I think it's 10 a.m. we have lunch. And then you're locked down from 10 o'clock until noon, and then you're free from noon until three o'clock, which is how I was able to make this phone call now. And now, at any time, you can get in trouble and get locked down. Now, I can consist of anything, just absolutely anything. For example, there's 4 aisles here. If you walk down an aisle that your bunk is not on, you'll be locked down for 24 hours. That's where you cannot leave your bunk for 24 hours. And then there's a lot of personalities in here. So someone might say you're looking at them. It's the most ridiculous. So then you're free till 3, or supposed to be free. I can be on the phone, the cafeteria table, or on my bunk. That's free time, or in the shower. And so then I'll be locked down again in exactly 1 hour, if not sooner. And then I'll be back on my bunk from 3 until 7 o'clock. So dinner at 7 o'clock, and then you're free again from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. or 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. That's what my days are like. That's kind of what I'm living day in and day out. So for the past 3 or 4 days, I've just been downloading to the editor how I think and what I think, just sharing with you guys my thought processes and how I see the world and how I see the world. And now more than ever, these petty squabbles between people who are on the side of transparency and liberty, they must be squashed. We must unite some way. Some level, egos have to drop and friendships and alliances must be formed, or we will be divided, conquered. And I will be appealing this obstruction, conviction, and the resisting conviction, because if I don't, the next time they arrest me, then they'll try to put me in jail for a very long time. I have an appeals hearing on Monday morning in Las Vegas, and I know that I mentioned last time that maybe some of you guys should come. I think that this time we should pack that courtroom. I have free Chilli t-shirts up on the website in the next 2 moments, but really they may not be done in time to wear them to the hearing. So you could just get a t-shirt from Walmart for $3 and write free Chilli on it and come to the hearing. If you're in the Las Vegas, Nevada area, if you're in Southern California, you can make the drive, then I'm asking you to come, because we have to show the judge that I'm not just a leader online, I'm a leader in real life. And a leader in real life has people show up. They just show up. We need to.
So I realized that I didn't have any sound. We got it fixed. I haven't really said anything too substantive other than I'm addressing some of the stuff that Chilli's talking about here. Chilli talking about packing the courtroom is going to be a problem for them. If there's a sergeant or a captain or a lieutenant or somebody that's monitoring, they're monitoring Chilli and they're monitoring Brian. I guarantee you they're watching all of these social medias. They're watching Brian's accounts. They're watching, here's the deal. They're watching High Impact Flicks. They're watching X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. They're monitoring all of Chilli's socials because they know that he's given the controls over to other people for him. They're monitoring these things. Him talking about packing the courtroom, having people show up with t-shirts. They're going to see this as trying to influence. They're going to see this as a problem. We know it's a First Amendment activity. We know that it's perfectly fine according to the natural rights of man as it's recorded in the Bill of Rights. But what's actually happening? What's actually happening here is them looking to build further cases against Chilli and anybody that they can rope in on this. That's what they're doing. They do not care about what's right or wrong. They do not care about whether or not they violated anybody's constitutional rights or natural rights. They hate Chilli, and they hate everybody that's working with him. And so, like I said, when I say they're monitoring Chilli's accounts and anybody who's working with him, what you have to understand is the largest agencies. Give you an example: Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, third largest agency in the state of Minnesota, as far as the amount of people it covers. They have a tech guy, a social media person who specializes in putting together social media content for the sheriff's office. But they also have deputies who just watch social media. They watch their staff social media, and then they'll also watch the social media for perceived threats, concerns concerning comments. They have staff that do this. So I guarantee you, they have deputies, they have staff right now that are assigned to watching Brian on X and Chilli on X and anyone who shows support or is very vocal in showing support. And so when Chilli says this about packing that courtroom, they're hearing this and they're saying, we have to do something about it. And this is where it's going to take a turn.
That courtroom full of people that all are united.
What if you never had to pay an
Oh,
electric
boy.
bill again? Electricity
Sorry,
rates have
guys.
nearly doubled since 2020. That's because
Same message that the tyrannical sentencing and the wrongful arrest should not go unnoticed by real people who show up. They know, free him. And I'm going to keep it together during this talk because I have to. But I have not been dishonest. I have cried 1,000 tears. I have spent many days and nights awake, just sitting there with my eyes open, thinking about how this kind of tyranny, how this kind of injustice could happen to me, and what my responsibility in it is. And I've already owned that. And I'm live and I'm talking to so many of you now. I'll own it again. I have told you all, I have lectured you all, that when you go to court, you have to sit up straight, yes sir, no sir, yes your honor, no your honor, and I did not do that. So I take full responsibility for my flight, for my disregard of what the system is. You shouldn't have to do those things, but you do. And because I didn't.
And Chilli's amazing right here. He's owning, if you guys want to see, it's on his channel, his appearance in court. You don't have to like Chilli. You can think Chilli is the best thing since sliced white bread with peanut butter. I don't care. I really don't care. Chilli owns that he didn't follow decorum for the court. He owns that. And he recognizes, I guarantee you, that this is why he's sitting in why he's sitting in lockup for 180 days. We also know from the judge's own words, it's because Chilli hates all cops in the U.S. She has a bias, and Chilli's going to touch on this. But this is amazing to hear Chilli touch this. This is a level of humility that most people cannot display. And Chilli's doing that here. And I give him credit for this. If you're watching, please share this out. I know the mic was muted for a while, but that's fine. You guys didn't really miss much. I've already rehashed all of it.
Didn't do them, and I gave that the wife of the cop, the judge. Her last name Zimmerman is exactly that of her ex-husband, Lieutenant Zimmerman from Las Vegas Metro Police Department. So,
okay, first thing right here. This is where Chilli is now in trouble. He named the husband of the judge, who is a lieutenant in the Las Vegas Metro PD. He named him. Now, I don't have a problem with that. He's a public servant. Everybody's going to know who he is. He's married to a judge. That's public knowledge. Absolutely public knowledge. And if you ask me, that judge had a duty to recuse herself from this case, because there's no way in the world she was going to be able to be fair and impartial. I don't care how anybody tries to spin this. This judge had no business sitting on this case, and it shows. when she sentenced him. And there again, go back to Chilli's channel and watch the trial, the sham trial. But understand right now, it's red alert for whoever they have monitoring this call, whoever it might be. And whoever it is that's monitoring this call is a tyrant, because they're part of the blue. You know, people talk down about detention staff all the time. And I'll tell you right now, average detention staff people have a far more dangerous job than your average street cop does. Most street cops would not dream of doing what detention staff do. But they've also bought into the blue line mentality. The detention staff are sworn deputies. They have bought into the blue line mentality. We have to stick together. And if you're in here, you deserve to be here. And we're going to make sure that you pay the price for everything that you're doing wrong. And now he just named one of them, and he's going to start calling out the judge.
She is the wife of a cop, meaning that while we on this team feel despise cops or strongly dislike them or don't respect them, she sleeps with them and marries them. And she has wedding parties with hundreds of cops, and she thinks these are the greatest guys in the world. So when I acted...
This call is being terminated by the facility.
Oh boy, that's not good. That wasn't good.
If you guys want to see the rest of this and hear Brian's commentary, please go through and watch it. It's worth it's worth the view. Brian nails a lot of things. So what I guarantee you happened is, at that moment, not only did this supervisor end this call, they immediately sent somebody in to begin a disciplinary process on Chilli. I guarantee you he began immediate disciplinary process. And what I mean by they began immediate disciplinary process, they removed him from the unit he was in. They wrote him up in the facility that I was in, the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center. They had minor violations and they had formal violations. Formal violation, basically, depending on what the context was, could get you placed on pre-hearing detention, where you would be placed in a cell now. You know, and Chilli was in a kind of an open air commons type lockdown situation. He was in a minimum security side, but still secured. And they were sleeping in a common room on bunks, or not on bunks, but on beds, and kind of like cots. Now, I guarantee you, because of the fact that he named the name of the judge's husband, named the judge, talked about the relationship, had already called for people to show up to the courtroom, they're gonna he's a threat. Okay, that's what they're gonna say. He's a threat. He's dangerous. I guarantee you they came in, swooped in, carted him out, put him into a segregation cell, disciplinary segregation cell, either with somebody or by himself. I would say they probably didn't have enough to put him in there, what we would have called in the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center administrative segregation, where they were too dangerous to even have a cellmate. I guarantee you, now he's pending further disciplinary charges inside of the facility. And what this is going to do is this is going to even further restrict his ability to use the phone. Now, most states, the detention centers are overseen by the State Department of Corrections, okay? And that means that every detainee in these situations has to have a minimum of an hour outside of a cell every day. And that hour, especially if it's in disciplinary status, that hour has to be between business hours. And we all know 9 to 5, right? Business hours. That time is only there for them to shower, use the phone to call their attorney, and just have time to stretch their legs. That's it. Your phone time is not guaranteed to be able to pick up the phone and call your buddy down the street, or call your wife, or call your girlfriend, or your husband, or whatever the case might be, your significant other. That time is technically only has to be allowed to call your attorney for professional reasons. Now, if you have time to call your attorney and then also make other calls, that's fine. But they can also restrict phone calls. So if they want to, and this is the key, if they want to, they can restrict phone numbers. They can block phone numbers. So Brian, from Here's the Deal, High Impact Flicks, his number could get blocked by the facility through the Securus system so that Chilli can't call him anymore. Now, they're not going to do that out of the gate. They're going to try and give Chilli enough rope to continue to hang himself. I know that's bad terminology to use inside of this conversation because we're talking about people who are incarcerated, and we know suicide rates are high and suicide attempts are high for incarcerated individuals, especially when they're under duress. But they're going to try and give him enough rope to continue to hang himself. That's what they're going to do. And if they can't get him on more, then they'll just block the number so he can't have any communication with people who he's got managing his social media and his YouTube and any other accounts that he's doing. But they're also going to start looking for an angle to try and rope Brian in on this. They're going to say, "Oh, well, what angle do we have? Could this be seen as a conspiracy to interfere?" And the reason I know this is because I've seen reports written about that. On such and such a day at such and such a time, I was listening to such and such a phone call with such and such a detainee, and that detainee was discussing with the person in the outside world we identified as so and so by name, and these two were discussing such and such a situation to reach out to so and so. And the way that staff are taught to write reports, they like you're going to have a hard time proving a lie. Because staff are taught to write reports in a ways to be bulletproof. You learn how to write a report to be bulletproof. And so whoever's writing this report about this situation with Chilli is going to include the fact that he was on the phone with Brian and the phone call was being streamed. And now they're going to have people going back and watching this, listening to this over and over and over again and dissecting it, trying to see what angles they can come at it from. They're going to have detectives, street detectives, listening in on this, trying to figure out how to get as much as they can. Is she attempting to, intimidate the judge by having his followers show up? Is this an attempt at manipulation? Is this an attempt at a threat? How many people is he roping into this? Can we get this guy for being a party to this? That's what they're doing. That's what they're looking for here. I guarantee you that's what they're looking for. And like I said, I can almost guarantee you that they're also looking for as much discipline as they can get on Chilli, to keep him locked down to 23 hours a day, 7 days a week for the duration of his 6-month sentence. They want to break him. They want to break Chilli. I know it sounds maddening and asinine, and you're like, come on, you're overreacting. And I'm telling you, in almost 13 years of doing this day in and day out, I know what they're trying to do to Chilli, and I know what they're going to try to do to everybody who tries to help Chilli. If they can, they will try and find a way to rope in anybody that's offering aid to Chilli right now. This is how much they hate what Chilli's done. And this is how much they hate anybody who helps Chilli. And I'll be honest, I've critiqued Chilli a few times. We all have room to grow, and Chilli has some room to grow in some areas. But he's right on so much stuff. He's so right on so much stuff. And they cannot have it. They cannot have it. And like I said, note, he names the judge's husband and then talks about the judge after he's talked about packing that courtroom. They are going to make mincemeat of him in the internal disciplinary system. And if they can, they're going to find a way to charge him with even more. And they're going to try and rope in as many people as possible. If you're watching this, Brian, if you see this, You know these things. I know you know these things. You're one of the smartest people I've ever seen on the interwebs. You are. I know how smart you are. So I know you know these things. But I guarantee you they're looking for a way to get you roped into everything with all of this, with Chilli. They're looking for any way possible to make you a criminal along with Chilli in their eyes. I guarantee it. So now I became aware before this. I started the stream, so I haven't had time to listen to it. But I became aware of an emergency update on Chilli. I don't know what it is, so we're going to listen in on this together. It's 6 minutes long. So I don't know I don't know what's in this. So let's watch this together. And once again, please share this out. Share if you have socials, send it out on your socials. Tag High Impact Flicks. Tag Here's a Deal. Tag Delete Lawz. Tag every single auditing channel you might know, every auditing social media platform that you might know. Let's get this out there. I don't care if you like Chilli, if you don't like Chilli. What's happening to him is going to screw us all. This is bad for everyone. It's really bad for Chilli, but it's bad for everyone else. So let's listen into this emergency update from Chilli. And we'll probably get a commercial right away, but you know, or maybe not.
Third party call, and that's why they threw me in the hole. I'm in the hole now.
Oh, did you hear that?
Third party call, and that's why they threw me in the hole.
Did you hear that? It was a third party call, and that's why they threw me in the hole. I told you. They rated it a third party call.
I'm in the hole now. I'm locked down in a room 5 feet by 10 feet with another guy who's strung out on drugs big time. They just had some guy in here. Horrible. I want to be very careful what I say. I don't want to I don't want to give away any sort of security or anything like that. So I'm just going to say that I'm in the hole, and I'll be in the hole for 3 to 5 days until I get what's called a CAD hearing or a CAT hearing. I'm not sure what it is. I have court Monday.
So what he's referring to there, I cannot tell you what the acronym for the Clark County Adult Detention Center is in this case, but what he's talking about would be what would be referred to, like in the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center, as a formal disciplinary hearing. So if he chooses to, he can have a detainee advocate or a staff advocate work as an advocate for him, and he will have a hearing with a disciplinary hearing panel, or maybe a couple of people, or even one. He'll make his case, and then they'll find him guilt in violation, and then they'll give him, anywhere from another 3 days to, it could be 27 days or 28 days of extra time in the hole for his unlawful behavior.
I need people to show up for court on Monday. That's what I really need. I mean, I got to get out of this life. This is an absolute crazy house. You have no idea. I can't see.
And if I could talk to Chilli right now, I'd tell him to stop telling people to show up to court. Not because he's wrong. He has every right in the world to tell people to show up to court. Everybody has a right to be there, to fill that room to capacity. But once again, they're going to look for any angle that they can to try and make him look as criminal as possible. And they're going to call it judicial tampering, intimidation, or something.
Anything about my surroundings. I can't say anything that would give away any sort of security thing here. I don't want them to say that I've created any kind of security thing, but I can just tell you what's happened today has been unbelievable. I've been in a lockdown cell for 24 hours, and the guy next to me was screaming the entire night, pounding on the door, screaming the whole night long. I'm in this tiny room walking back and forth like a caged animal. I've done more push-ups, sit-ups, dips. I can't do any more stretching, and I'm just completely, utterly just torn, bent, twisted.
That's the goal. That's all that is. This is the goal of these disciplinary lockdowns. Break you. It's absolutely meant to break you. We think we've come so far in the modern world. We think that our incarceration system is so advanced. It's all meant to break you. They want to break Chilli. That's all they care about. They hate him. They absolutely hate him.
Twisted. It's insane insane that they would lock up a journalist and put me in this kind of dungeon. It's horrible. You have no idea. So as soon as I was on the phone, they said I don't know what anybody heard because I was broadcasting and I was reporting, but I was not calling a third party. And they said Rule 249 of the Clark County Detention Center. But I never got a rule book. I was never handed a rule book. I was never instructed to read a rule book. I walked up to every guard when they came in. I introduced myself, told them I was nonviolent. I would not be any problem for them. I've sat on my bunk the entire time. I've not done anything else. I've not communicated with any other inmates. All I've done is read.
You know, there's a saying that goes, at any given time, any single person that you talk to is probably guilty, not probably, is definitely guilty of committing a felony at some level, either at the local level, the county level, the state level, or the federal level. You've committed a felony, and if they wanted to, they could arrest you for it, charge you for it, throw you away forever for it. It's the same thing inside of a detention center. There's no way you can stay on top of all the rules. And that's intentional. It's absolutely intentional. It's meant to beat you down and keep you down. They want you to just be on edge all the time, wondering whether or not you're going to break a rule and whether you're going to lose some of these few privileges that they allow you to have. I mean, Chilli was already locked up in a bad situation. Now he's even in a worse situation. Now he's got to worry about whether or not he's breaking rules he doesn't know. How the hell can you know the rules if they're not telling you what they are? Used to have this argument with people all the time in the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center. Well, it's in the rule book. Well, I didn't get a rule book. I was part of a group of people that said, look, we got to start getting these guys rule books. If we're going to hold them accountable to the rules, we got to give them the rule books. Well, they should know. I'm like, well, yeah, they should know, and we should be correcting them. But how in the hell are we going to hold them accountable for something if they can't go read the rule book, regardless of the language they speak? And they did. They started to provide them. But I guarantee you, in a facility the size of Clark County, they're not giving every single detainee a rule book. It's too bad, so sad. Don't like it, don't get convicted. If you don't like it, don't get arrested. If you don't like it, don't sit in here while you're waiting to go to trial. Too bad. Like it or lump it, that's where you are. Don't break the fucking rules. Excuse my language.
And talk on the phone. Again, I was never given a handbook. Never, ever was I given a handbook. It was never handed to me. It was never suggested I read a handbook. I was never instructed to figure out how to read the rules of this facility. I was never told that live streaming was against the rules. I was never told that recording was against the rules. I wouldn't have done it. I simply wouldn't have done it. I've been in an absolute and total hell.
Even this call is going to run him the risk of getting in trouble. And I'm watching it now, and I don't know, I'm probably gonna hinder his, make it worse for him, and I don't mean to, but this is what they're gonna do. Now they're gonna go and they're gonna search all the YouTube channels that could have anything at all to do with him, and they're just gonna go after him. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna go after him.
Absolute, total hell. You have no idea. If you want to talk about time, this is hard time. This is hard in a room with one other person and the other guy's completely whacked on drugs. Completely whacked. Slept, woke up, slept. Just so sad to see. It's so sad to see. It just makes me want to cry when I see the level of addiction that is here. Jails and prisons should be broken up into 3 sections: nonviolent, violent, and drug addicted. When they came and they arrested me, the moment my phone cut off yesterday, they arrested me immediately. They came in with 5.
What did I tell you? What I told you, right? I absolutely told you that that's what they were going to do. I told you that they were going to come in and take him away, didn't I? I said it. That they were going to come in and take him away like he was like breaking another law. And that's how they treat these rules inside of these detention centers. You're breaking the law. Because for all intents and purposes, it is the law inside of the facility.
Guards, and they put me in torture cuffs. I had a panic attack because they were taking me down to solitaire, to the tiny little room. On the way down, I had a panic attack. It was so horrifically bad. I felt like my chest was going to pop out. I thought I was going to literally die right there. I thought I was having a heart attack. So they brought all these people around me, and they gave me an.
Okay, and for anybody who's watching, who watches this, and they hear Chilli talking about this, describing his experience, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, Chilli, I'm a fan, but good Lord, man up. Wait till you're surrounded by 5 to 6 people with tasers and handcuffs, and they're all gloved up and ready to go. You don't know what's happening. You don't know why. You don't know what you've done wrong. All you know is they've showed up in your housing unit where you've been assigned, where you've been following the rules, and they're there throwing the cuffs on you because you've been naughty. You've been bad. We're gonna cuff. You're not a threat, but we're gonna cuff you out, and we're gonna cuff you up and drag you out of here. Come on, fight us! I dare you. Yeah, never been through it before. That's gonna cause some anxiety. That's gonna cause some panic. That's a normal response for an adult male, an actual man. And how do I know? Because I've been there. And I've watched people laugh about it. Oh, you're so tough. Now look at you. Look at how tough you are. All of a sudden you ain't got no fight left in you, do you? It's not a joke. And that's how they act.
And it was horrible. It was horrible. And the guards just do what they're told, period. If they're told to do this, that's what they do. They don't have empathy. They don't have sympathy. They are told to do something, and that's all they care about. That's all.
And the ones that do have empathy, the ones that do care, the ones that give a damn, they get rid of them real damn fast. The minute they show that weakness, they're going to find a way to get rid of them. The minute they show a spine and not just do what they're told, they're going to start angling to get rid of them.
All they will do. They will not do anything else. So it's just, and then here in this tiny little, this is punishment, so you don't get a book. They won't give you a book. And then NRS Code Nevada says you only get 1 hour of free time. The guards only have to give you 1 hour of free time. Well, every single legislator in Nevada, I would love to see you sit in that room even for 3 hours by yourself, or even with somebody else, where there's people screaming in the rooms next door, singing. It's like something out of a movie. You've never seen anything like it. NRS Code says you get 1 hour of free time a day. You get to come out of that tiny little room for 1 hour. If the guards decide to give you your free time, it's completely backwards. Last night I saw people get free time at 2 o'clock in the morning. Who are you going to call at 2 o'clock in the morning? You can't call your mother. She's dead asleep. You can't call your attorney. He's not in his office. It's NRS code. I don't know what the code is, but yesterday when the sergeant came in, he said, listen, guys, NRS says I only give you guys 1 hour of free time a day. Other than that, you'll be locked down. Well, in my particular case, they took me to this room and locked me down. I'm locked down in a room. There's a tiny slit of a window 4 inches wide by 3 feet long, and that's it, total. Other than that, it's gray walls with a one seat and a desk, but you don't get any paper, you don't get any pencils, and you don't get a book. You just sit in this tiny little room. I've called my attorney. We're gonna try to get me out of this horrible situation because I didn't break the rules, and I was never.
And his attorney can't do a damn thing for him. His attorney has no sway, no power, no nothing inside of that facility because it's not an issue of legality. It's an issue of policy and procedure, and it's overseen by the DOC. Guarantee you the Nevada DOC, Department of Corrections, oversees it. And as long as they're following the prescribed procedures laid out in the facility, as they're also then presented to the DOC for annual or biannual or semi-annual review, they're just nothing you can do. Because the rules and the disciplinary process are there to maintain order. His attorney can't do a damn thing for him. Not inside the facility. He's going to have an uphill battle with his appeal. Damn sure not going to get anywhere trying to change anything inside the facility for him.
Never given a set of rules to follow. I was never instructed. You can read the rules here. There's no rules written on the wall. The only thing written all over the walls is suicide prevention. That's it. Are you fearing suicidal? Here, call this. Are you feeling like you've been sexually assaulted? Call this. But there's no rules anywhere. There's no rules that you're supposed to follow. There's no CCDC handbook. It doesn't exist. There is none. And I can't say anything about what I saw today. I can't. If I say anything about what I saw, then they'll say that I created a security risk, and I just can't tell you. But I can write it down, and I will write it down. When I get out of here, I will publish a book of everything that I've seen, everything that I've been through. This has been an absolute horrendous experience. It's literally like you're in hell on earth, and that there are people here that make you do what you're supposed to do. Anyway, listen, I gotta go. Okay, I gotta jump off this phone. I love you guys. Pray for me. Pray for me. I love you. Bye.
The caller has hung up.
Look, folks, they're not done with Chilli. They're not done with him. Not by any stretch of the imagination. They will not stop. They will do everything in their power to keep him in that cell for 23 hours a day, 7 days a week until he's finished his time. And if they can, they'll find a way to get more charges on him. They're going to try and bait him into altercation with a staff member or bait him into an altercation with another detainee. They're going to find a way to get him to do something. That's going to be their target. I guarantee you that he is the subject of every shift briefing at every shift change every day that he's there. They are not going to give him a break. And like I said, if they can, they're going to go after anybody that's helping him. You know, like I said, I spent a long time in the system. And I did things sometimes that I'm not proud that I did. When I look back, I'm like, yeah, I was right according to policy and procedure, but man, if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't do it. I made a lot of mistakes. Never did anything out of malice, never did anything out of evil heart. But sometimes I did things that I was told to do, or I was told were okay to do because of the nature of the work. Every little thing now that they can gig Chilli on is going to be a reason to keep him on lockdown. Now, I can't speak to Clark County Detention Center. If they're giving people their free time in the middle of the night, pretty freaking shady. Pretty shady. But here's something else. Even if they can't get him on major things, they're going to gig him on every tiny little minor thing over and over and over and over again so that they can pile these up and just keep him going. Oh, you didn't follow this rule. Oh, you didn't have the exact right uniform on for this situation. Well, for head counts. Oh, you weren't standing at your bunk in exactly the position we told you to be standing at for head count, or whatever the case might be. Oh, we told you to do something. You made us tell you more than once. That's disrespect to staff. Lockdown. Oh, you've had 4 lockdowns in the last 3 weeks. Disciplinary seg. Or you can't get off of disciplinary seg because we've had to write you up 15 times in the last 2 weeks while you've been on disciplinary seg. So we're going to have to extend it to another week. Oh, well, we had to write you up 3 more times. Well, I didn't know you were writing me up. Well, you did know because the rules say that we can write you up for this. You remember that time when I walked by and said, hey, can you put your feet down? You should have assumed that it was going in your disciplinary screen. What do you mean? Anytime a deputy or a correctional officer or a guard or whatever you want to say corrects you for something, you have to assume that's going in your screen. And if it's going in your screen, it's going to add up against you. That's how they're going to play this. And I cannot say enough. If you love liberty, if you are an advocate for the natural rights of man extending to every person, whether or not you know Chilli or whether or not you like Chilli doesn't matter. You have to acknowledge that what they're doing to him is wrong. And if you're celebrating this, you're not a human being. You're a piece of filth. You're a piece of filth. And to the people who work in the Clark County Detention Center, if your interactions with Chilli are being influenced by the information you're being given by your superiors or by the bullheaded thugs that you work with, take a step back. Have a conversation with Chilli. Just have one conversation with him. And then ask yourself, is this the terrible criminal that he's been painted out to be? Do I want to dink around with him every day for the next 170 days? Do I really want to do that? Am I that kind of human being? And if your answer is that's the kind of human being that I am, then sadly you're probably in the right line of work, but you're the wrong kind of person for this society. I'm going to end this here. If I can, I'm going to compel you guys to go to Delete Lawz, follow Chilli's story, go to Here's the Deal and High Impact Flicks. Find them on social media. Share this out on social media. Share this to Chilli's X feed. Share this to Chilli's Facebook page, to Brian's Facebook pages, and Here's the Deal, High Impact Flicks. And then if anybody has any questions, tell them that they can message me. I'm more than happy to walk through this stuff with them in a conversation. Folks, the Republic dies in darkness. And that's what they're trying to do with Chilli. They want a story to die in the darkness. The judge knows she's wrong. She knows. She just doesn't care. She doesn't care because she's sleeping with a cop. How dare you cross the blue line? Don't you know they're heroes? Go watch a video of Chilli's arrest for this situation and then tell me how much of a hero these guys are. As my friend Monica made my sign here, folks. Yeah, she made a sign with my tagline on it. And I'm glad it's there because I haven't used it in so long that I almost forgot how I ended the show. But thanks for watching. Like, comment. After the fact, come back and watch the video and comment in the regular comment section. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Share it out if you haven't shared it out. And my friends, until next time, fight for your liberty. It is yours. Fight for your freedom. It belongs to you. And sic semper tyrannis.
We are go for liftoff in T-30. Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at